Hello, I'm Roger Sheley, rangeland weed ecologist with the Agricultural Research Service and the Eastern Oregon Agricultural Research Center, and I'm here to present an Eastern Oregon Ag Minute. This week I thought it might be fun to discuss biological control of noxious weeds. Just like most of us, plants have enemies. The idea is that as weeds evolved in other countries, they evolved with a host of insects and pathogens that live and feed on them. Feeding weakens the plant and hopefully kills it. So as weed managers, one way to get weeds under control is to find natural enemies in the areas where the weeds evolved and bring them back to the U.S. for release and distribution. There are a few commonly mentioned successful biological control agents for weeds like St. John's wort and in Oregon, tansy ragwort. Tansy ragwort is a poisonous, noxious weed responsible for the death of thousands of livestock in the Pacific Northwest. It came here from the temperate regions of Europe, in the area from Great Britain to Siberia. Ragwort was reported in 1922 in Oregon along the Portland waterfront and grew to infest 3 million acres by 1950. The cinnabar moth, the ragwort flea beetle, and the ragwort seedhead fly were first released in California in 1959. Within a few years, they were widely distributed throughout the Pacific Northwest. The number of tansy ragwort plants was reduced by 90% within 6 years. The number of cattle lost each year dropped from about 35 in Oregon to 0. So it is exciting that in some cases biological control has really worked. Yesterday we talked about Oregon's successful biological control of tansy ragwort. But there are two sides to every story, and the biocontrol story is not different. I've been studying a root-feeding weevil to control spotted knapweed for about 8 years. In my studies, the root-feeding weevil increased spotted knapweed biomass. It appears that at low insect densities, the weevil weakens some plants, but the neighboring plants get the resources that would have been used by the others. Ultimately, the weevil thinned the stand, somewhat like you thinning your radishes, and both give bigger and stronger plants. Another researcher found that weevils reduced spotted knapweed, but the weevil's density were super high. In that case, all of the plants were infected. Our results suggest that for many biological control agents, epidemic numbers will be required for them to be successful. Yesterday we discussed a situation where biological controls actually help the weed by thinning it and allowing the unaffected plants to grow better. This type of relationship between plants and animals is very common in nature, and it makes sense that a plant and animal would be mutually beneficial. Most of you understand how the ladybug is helpful in your gardens because they eat aphids and other microscopic pests. In nature, these relationships are more common than adversarial relationships, like the cactus and the cactus moth. In this case, neither the plant nor the insect can survive without the other. The cactus provides food and shelter, and the insect carries the pollen from plant to plant. The insect cannot use any other plant, and no other insect pollinates the plant. So it's really not surprising that some potential biological controls have evolved a positive relationship with their host. This week I've provided an example of a good biological control and an example of where the insects actually favored the weeds. So what's the chances of finding a natural enemy that controls any particular weed? When I talk to entomologists, they say there's about a 20% chance of finding a host of biological control agents for a weed that really works well, and about 50% chance of finding a biological control that helps stress the weed. So if you have 10 problem weeds, you can hope for finding good biological controls for about 2 of them. So there is no silver bullet, and that's why it's so important that we continue to work hard to develop integrated weed management programs for invasive noxious weeds. I'm Roger Sheley. Have a great weekend.